Thank you for that moment. Feel like really good. Yeah, as Judith said today, we're going to be talking about working with the law. And I'd like to share a story with you. Okay, let's see, how do I start this? So we're going to go back for a few years, and then we're going to come forward here, okay? In 2017, I was really excited to go to my university's homecoming because I was graduated in 77. So 2017, what is that, 30, 40 something years? I don't even remember, but I wanted to go. It was 2017. It was my year. And so those years are celebrated each year, that you go. But then my sister called and asked me if I would do a wedding for her daughter. Wedding, homecoming. So I did the wedding. So then 2018, I'm like, I'm going to homecoming. This is the year I'm going to go. And I went and I enjoyed it, had a great time. And as all the chapters were presenting their reports for the year and all the things that they've done, I kind of looked around and go, well, where's Rio Grande Valley chapter? And lo and behold, we didn't have a chapter. I'm like, Rio Grande Valley, no chapter? Get out of here. Well, let's start one. I'm going to start one. So they're like, okay, go right ahead. So, okay, that's 2018. Thinking about it, talking about it. There were some of the ladies at my church, about 4 of us that had gone to TW, my university. And we said, hey, that's a great idea. So it's 2018. 2019, another year, we have a meeting at Luby's. And I put out the information, that we're having an information meeting for the Texas Women's University Rio Grande Valley Alumni Chapter. And not knowing what was going to show up or anything, about 10 people showed up. And the funny thing was, one of the ladies that came, she looked at me, I looked at her, she goes, you're the one doing this? And I'm like, you're here, you're going to tell. She goes, yeah. The same school for 5 years. We had taught at Donna. She taught at Donna, I taught at Donna, and we just never quite connected with that information. Okay, so that's 2019. So then, that's May. In August of 2019, we received our charter as a alumni chapter. Okay? March of 2020, we have our first big opening event. And we have about 30 people from all over the valley, that came. Of course, the Rio Grande Valley, we have over 1,000 graduates, within this area, but you never know. So then we had our big event, and then, what happened to the rest of the world, but we still met, we still did things online, we still did things on a video, Zoom and all. And during all that time, one of our goals was to be able to help new students leaving the valley, going to TW, like for seniors in high school, going to TW, to meet with them, to, let them know we support them, to do whatever we could for them. And this had always been in the plan since 2019, okay? And so now, let's move up to 2023, or 22. One of the ladies moved in to the valley. She had been here before, she lived here. We were on the board together with the TW National Board. And she moved here and we were like, hey, you know what? There's a new position open in the Rio Grande Valley for a TW recruiter. And guess what? She was the perfect person for that job. And she has recruited over 141 students to go to TW, and 41 have been accepted. In those 41, because the rest of them, they're in the process at some point, but they've been accepted, and we have over almost $100,000 in scholarships for them to go to TW, and there's different levels of scholarships. And then yesterday, guess what? We had that meeting. We had that event with those students that came, their parents came, we had a beautiful hotel room, conference room and food, and even the vice president of admissions came from Denton to congratulate the students, just to be a part of it. And so we just had a really great time. And so what I wanted to share with you that is things don't always happen the moment we want them to, or the moment we think about them. Sometimes it's a process. And as I was sitting there in that meeting, all of a sudden a thought came to my mind. In 1973, I was that student. I was that student coming to TWU. And then it hit me, oh my God, that's been 50 years. Okay. So it's kind of a full circle, okay? Full circle. And the reason I share that is because working with the law and working with the universal laws that's in our life, and the universal laws are just as real as the law of gravity, as the law of that we need to breathe, there's oxygen. So we have these invisible laws, and that's what we're going to be sharing about today. And why should we study these invisible laws? Because we're always thinking, and we can be thinking positive thoughts, or we can be thinking negative thoughts. And we need to know what our thinking does and how we can use our thinking. And so these laws, I just want to kind of go over just the overview today, because hopefully I get back and we can go over each one, a couple of laws each Sunday. But first is the law of thinking. And the law of thinking says that everything is created twice. So pay attention to what you're paying attention to, because creating that alumni chapter was in my mind, and it came out here. Creating that student event was in your mind. Whatever you created, creating this service today was a thought in someone's mind. And now look what's happened, and you're here. So pay attention to what you're thinking about. And then we're going to talk about the law of supply, and that we live in an abundant universe. Y'all know this stuff. And make agreements only with abundance. Never make agreement with lack. And it's so easy to do, because that little thought creeps into your mind like, oh, well, I want to do this, but I don't have enough money. Or I want to do that, and there's not enough people. Or what if nobody shows up? Let go of that kind of thinking. If there's something you want and it looks too expensive, then just, kind of like you said, it's too expensive, it's mine. Well, you know what? That's mine. Yeah. And guess what? One day it will be yours. However you get it, it will be. But if you say it's too expensive, I can't afford it, then guess what? You're never going to have it. But just, that's mine. And then you take the steps to make it yours. And then we have the law of attraction. And I know you've heard a lot about the law of attraction, and a lot of people, come and go, and some say, well, it doesn't work for me, or it doesn't work this, or it does that, But the law of attraction is that we attract what we focus on, and what we're interested in, and what we pay attention to. And here's the neat thing I like, and here's something that may have been left out of the original movie way back when, when they talked about the law of attraction, is that the law of attraction is activated by a burning desire and great expectation. If you just wish for something and you don't have a desire for it and you don't expect to get it, then guess what? Never going to happen. Well, that law of attraction stuff didn't work for me. But we'll talk more about that, okay? But just remember that even today, the activation of the law of attraction is a burning desire. You gotta want it. You gotta breathe it. You gotta live it. You gotta sleep it. And you gotta expect it. Expect for it to happen. And then we have the law of receiving. And here's the funny thing about the law of receiving. Y'all know this. The law of receiving is activated by giving. How about that? So we give, what they say, the more you give, the more you get. But guess what? That's true. When we give our time, our talent, our attention, our gifts, or whatever we have to what that burning desire is and to others and everything, then we receive back even more. The Bible says we receive back, shaken down and running over more than we can ever know is what we receive back. So we're going to talk about that. And in the area of receiving, just like in the law of attraction, we give just abundantly. And we give in an area, guess what? That we feel the most lack. How does that even work? Well, we'll talk about that. Okay. And giving and receiving. But the area where we feel that we have the less is the area that we need to be giving the most. Okay. And then there's a law of increase. And to me, I had to think about this one for a moment. But the law of increase is really about praise. And to me, praise is the multiplier of whatever it is that we're expecting and that we want. I was a teacher for a long time. And I noticed that the students, when they did their work and you praise them, hey, man, that was a great job, man. You got that problem just right, or you gave that job just right. And you kind of see that beam, and then that glowing, and then they want to do more. But if it's like, you didn't do that right, do it again, do it again. I had teachers like that, do it again, do it again. And they kind of like, yeah, kind of diminish it. So we have to remember that if we want something to increase, we praise it. And we become a person of increase, and that we're always giving in that praise to ourselves. Because guess what? Might be a surprise, but sometimes we don't praise ourselves very much. I did a conference for the nurses when I was in the Army, and we did stress management, and a lot of work and speakers and dinner and lunch, everything was great, and it turned out wonderful, and I was really excited. And as soon as we finished that, I told the nurses, okay, our next program. And I, whoa, wait a minute, chaplain, slow your roll. You got to enjoy this moment, enjoy this time, enjoy the accomplishment that you did. Enjoy the lives that you touched with this program. And I guess I had never really kind of did that. And I learned to stop and enjoy and appreciate and praise the things that we do in our lives. And then it increases even more. Then we have the law of compensation. Okay, what do we think about the first thing comes to mind in that one? Paycheck. Okay. But the law of compensation says the better we serve, the more skilled we become. How's that sound? The better we serve, the more skilled we become. Here at church, Valerie asked you to do the host. You said, oh, but I can't do that. I'm too shy. I don't like talking. Well, guess what? Do it anyway. And you know what? The more we do it, the better we get, because we develop those muscles of whatever that lack, remember? Whatever the lack is, that we give more of it. So that we develop those muscles, when you're exercising or walking or whatever, and we just develop more. When I first went in the Army, I was like, 28, 29, and we had PT. And there are these guys, 18, 19, big, strong, strapping guys, and we had to do PT together. We had to do exercise. And I would come home crying to my husband, they expect me to keep up with those guys. They're all muscles and legs and everything. And I talked to my drill sergeant. I said, well, drill sergeant, how can I get better? He said, well, chaplain, you get better by doing it. If you want to get better running, then you run more. If you want to do more push-ups, then you do more push-ups. We get better by doing. Okay? So that's the law of compensation. We'll talk a whole lot more about that one. Okay? Here's one. This is going to be interesting. The law of non-resistance. Think about that one. Y'all know what that means, right? And the law of non-resistance says, focus on the thing you do want and not the thing you don't want. What do we usually do? Well, I'm not sure what I really want, but I know what I don't want. And so we start giving a lot of attention to that don't want. Let go of that don't want. Make a very, very, very clear picture of what you do want. And if you're not sure about that, you know where to go. Go into the silence. Listen. And create from that inner space within you. And sometimes even the law of non-resistance says, we can even win an argument by not arguing. You know, in Aikido, when somebody throws a punch, you just move this way. And they throw another punch, and you move that way, move that way. And you never throw the punch. But you never get hit. And that's okay. The law of non-resistance, so we'll talk about that one. But it says, do the thing you want to do, not the thing you don't want to do, or think about or dwell on it, okay? Just let that always come into your mind. What is it that I want? And always be in an attitude of, here's what I want my life to look like. Here's what I want my church to look like. Here's what I want my job to look like. Here's what I want my home to look like. And guess what? Eventually it will. I have a lot of stuff in my home that I don't want there. I've moved that stuff there 12 years ago and it's still there. But I'm working on it. Eventually it's going to be all done and cleared and whatever. But it's what I want. I want a nice, clear, beautiful home, uncluttered. And so what do I need to do? Get rid of clutter. Are y'all having a yard sale anytime soon? You know, need some junk. Need some stuff. I got plenty of it. Okay. Okay. But anyway, just that non-resistance. And we'll talk more about that. And then there's the law of forgiveness. Okay. And forgiveness is really all about a shift in our perception. And it removes the blocks to my awareness of love's presence. And when we were in the process of forming our chapter, all excited, I'm on the board, I'm having a great time. And then suddenly, but not suddenly, but kind of like it just took its time, but it finally came to a head. And a situation where the university brought in what they called an alumni engagement office that they hired. And the alumni engagement office and the alumni association thought, okay, we can be friends, we can work together, we can have a great time. They say, okay, let's do a symbol together, and let's do all this stuff together, and we'll give y'all a place to stay, and give you somebody to work with you, and all of these great things in this contract, this MOU. But there was one little piece in the MOU that had already been signed like some years before. And when the present board read that, we were like, how could you have signed this? And the president at the time said, well, because we were all friends. We never thought anything would happen. We never thought they'd have to use this clause on us. And so I got very angry. I got very angry with my university. I was like, man, we do all this work for you, and now you want to kick us out. And I had to really seek forgiveness because guess what? I wanted to just dump everything I had done. I wanted to dump the association. I wanted to just not have anything to do with it. I wanted to tell them, hey, you know what, you guys, you can run yourself now. You're good. You can do this. And my sister goes, are you sure? This is your baby. You sure? But forgiveness, a change in perception. And that change in perception came to me when I really thought about the words of that contract. And there's just a tiny, teeny little piece of that said, we're working together, we're doing all this great stuff together. But if you ever want to divorce us, we're going to take everything away from you, including our name, including your name. Now, how does that feel? That's part of you are, that's part of your identity, your school. And suddenly you've been there 101 years and you can't identify yourself with that name anymore. That hurts so bad. And that's where I had to really okay, we did that, we signed that agreement, never knowing that it would come to this. But now, guess what? We move forward. We start new. We start fresh. We take our marbles and we go somewhere else. But we're still, get this, our goal is still supporting our school, still loving our school, and supporting the people, the alumni, the students that's coming in, all the things we were doing before. Nothing changed in that sense of love and support. And that's where the change in perception had to come from me. I don't know how other people dealt with it a lot, but it was just the idea that, you know what? We take responsibility for that. And in taking responsibility, then I was able to just have a new perception and say, let's move forward with the new organization. And that's what we did. So law of forgiveness, man, that's a big one. We're going to have to really dig into that one. But that was just my story. I'm sure everybody's got one. But then law of sacrifice. We're going to be through here. And the law of sacrifice says that we sacrifice the lesser to gain the greater. That we give up something in our lower nature to gain something in our higher nature. And whatever that is, every time you make a decision to do something, you give up one thing to do the other. It's like, and when you try to do everything together, you find it doesn't work. And guess what? Nothing gets done. So the law of sacrifice will teach us how we give up the lesser to gain the greater. And then the law of obedience says when we get in harmony with the laws of the universe, life gets easier. That's the goal. Life gets easier. And it just feels so good. And you manifest so many things that you never thought about, but it's like you're following the rules, your obedience. I was driving over here this morning in a hurry, thinking about things and all, just kind of zooming through life, having a good time. All of a sudden, guess what? You look up, not a car on the road, but me and the police behind me. And so, oh no. Pull over. Oh God, don't let me be late. Please don't let me be late. Okay. Pull over, police. You know why you got stopped? He says, well, you were speeding. I got you going 49 and a 35. Is everything okay? Was something on your mind? What was going on? I said, well, I'm going to speak at a church, and I was just thinking about, things and talking and everything. And I'm really sorry. I really didn't realize what was happening. He said, well, let me see your driver's license. Let me see your insurance, da, da, da. And so he said, well, you know what? Let this be a warning to you. Slow down. Get there safe. We don't need any accidents. Thank you, Mr. Policeman. Oh, thank you, God. But again, life does. We get through those times. We get through those moments, and it's not as traumatic. Man, I used to cry and cry and cry for days. Anytime I got stopped and got a ticket, I was like, "Oh Lord Jesus, that's the worst thing that happened in the world." No, thank God they got a ticket. So anyway, life is easier. Then The last law we're going to talk about incorporating this is the law of success. And it's the intention of God, the universe, spirit, whatever it is for you, that each one of us is successful. That each one of us live on our potential to our greatness. That we all prosper and flourish. And that means our families, ourselves, our churches, our jobs, and our groups and clubs, and whatever we're in, whatever we're a part of, it's going to grow. It's going to flourish. And it is, I'll say this, I'll put it another way. It is growing. It is flourishing. And then I'll put it another way. It is, how do I want to say that? It is great. Life is great. And we have these laws to help us get there safely. And so it is. God bless. And come back next time and we'll dive in some more. Thank you.